Um, in my other job, I do like product design, and sometimes I have to get like stock images for some of the products that I'm doing. So there's a bunch of different websites, you can go to, and you type in a word, and then it gives you all these different, very polished looking images that you can purchase and use for whatever reason. Right now, if you were to type in meditation into one of those, what do you think would come up? I've done it. And every one of those pictures looks pretty much the same. Ooh, Rob, that's good. Hold on to that one. Every image looks the same. It's some person sitting on what looks to be a pretty uncomfortable wood floor, and their eyes are closed, and they have their hands something like this, right? And they look super chill. That's every image that comes up is the same, which is interesting, right? That's what we think of as meditation, and that is a way to meditate. But is it the only way? No, it is not. Meditation does not require you to sit in a certain position. It does not require you to have your eyes closed as opposed to open. There's tons of different ways that you can meditate. And that kind of sitting down, traditional eyes closed breathing is just one of them, right? So a broader definition of meditation is that it is a technique, a practice to train your mind in becoming familiar with something. All right. Now, we usually don't go around saying, I'm going to familiarize my mind with this thing I'm doing, right? It's not a phrase that we use, right? But our mind is becoming familiar with things constantly, right? And we can think about something maybe like a physical thing that we're really familiar with, to see the power of familiarity and what it does for us on a day-to-day basis. So think about something like tying your shoe. You're awesome at it. I don't even need to ask. I know. You're all very proficient at shoe tying. Okay? Do it with your eyes closed, upside down. I don't know what situation you would be in that you need to do that, but I think you could do it. Yeah. But when you were a kid, not easy. In fact, maybe the most difficult task you've ever been asked to do. Right? So what happened? How'd you get so damn good at it? Just practice, right? You are your body, mind, everything, the mechanics, the strategy of how to tie your shoe, every aspect that you need in order to tie your shoe well, quickly, efficiently. Over time, you've developed all of this familiarity with the activity, right? And as a result, tying your shoe is now somewhat effortless too. I mean, you have to like move your arms and stuff like that, but you don't have to think that much about it, right? You don't be like, oh, two loops and the blah, 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 right? You just kind of do it, right? Okay. So think about other things that you're really familiar with: driving a car, riding a bike, walking, anything, right? All these things that you've learned throughout your life. The byproduct of becoming really familiar with them is they start to flow a little more naturally to you. Requires less effort. The same is true for your mind. All right. If you think about relaxation, which is often why we get into meditation. We want to be less stressed. We want to relax. Cool. Meditation does not create relaxation or something like that. What it's doing is it's teaching you to become really familiar with relaxed you, that version of yourself that is relaxed. And you might be like, yeah, I don't know, I haven't seen that version of me in a while, but it's in there. If you think hard enough, if you're honest with yourself, you will realize, like, yes, there is a version of me that is very calm, cool, collected, relaxed, right? My training in meditation, if you want to do this, you can learn how to become so familiar with relaxed you that what happens? Just like tying your shoe, relaxed you starts to show up with less effort. Right now we have to try. Think about in a situation that gets us angry, right? We don't have to try to get angry, ever. Right? Somebody says something or does something, we're like, and then we're just angry. You don't have to be like, hold on a second, I need to collect my thoughts so I can get really angry. Boom, it just happens. But patience takes effort, right? We have to try. Sometimes we have to actually be like, hold on, I need to think about all this and practice some patience. This is because our mind has had, unfortunately, more experience getting annoyed than being patient, right? And so our mind is just doing what it's familiar with. So something like anger starts to come very naturally, where something like patience doesn't come as effortlessly. But we can change that. And that's what meditation is about. Meditation is about choice. It's about choosing, what do you want your mind to be familiar with? Do you want your mind to be so familiar with patience that it just kind of comes? You don't have to think about it. Do you want your mind to be so familiar with the relaxed version of yourself that version is the predominant version that appears, right? Sounds good. Yeah, I think yes to both, right? So this is a kind of wider definition of meditation, right? Sometimes we just think, I'm going to chill for a little bit, but there's a lot going on under the hood. And what's going on is familiarity. That word, familiarization, it is intertwined with meditation. That is what we are doing, right? We are familiarizing our mind with something, right? Cool. Now, the first thing that we usually do with meditation is we start to practice breathing meditation. And if you have done meditation before, you've probably done breathing meditation. It's a very common entry point, and we're going to do that now. What breathing meditation is, if you want to kind of talk about it and reference it in a fancy way, it is single-pointed concentration. You are single-pointedly concentrating on your breath, right? Focusing on one thing. We are not multitasking. Now, we, as humans, in 2022, are insanely good multitaskers. Even if you're like, nah, not me. You multitask all day long, right? Maybe you're watching this stream right now, and you pick up and you drink something, but you're still paying attention. Hey, you're multitasking. We multitask all day long, which is great for getting stuff done, worldly tasks, if you will, but not always the best for being super relaxed and super present, which we're going to talk about today. Right? So our goal here with breathing meditation is we're going to make a choice. We're going to intentionally choose to focus single-pointedly on our breath. And then whenever we notice our mind kind of drifting, thinking about something happened earlier today, or what we got to eat later, or whatever, something we have to do tomorrow at work, we're just going to be like, not right now to those thoughts. We're not saying they're bad. They're not bad. They're just thoughts. They're important. We'll think about them, but not now. Right? Not right now. And then we bring our attention back to our breath. Choose to focus on your breath. Notice when your mind drifts, bring it back. That's breathing meditation. Right? Cool. The goal is not to never get distracted. That often is, we have very high expectations for ourselves. And we come in, we start meditating. We're like, I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes with Keith, and I will never get distracted. I will be pinpoint focused on my breath. Right? This is not the goal. The goal is not no distraction, but to notice when you're distracted and being able to bring it back. Right? Your mind's going to think. That's what it does. It's very used to that. Your mind is familiar with doing a lot. So when we want it to do a little focus, our mind is sometimes like, I don't know about this. This is not for me. I don't do this. So we have to train. We have to train our mind. Cool? And the result of this, very similar to if you've ever been in the zone or whatever cliche phrase, when you are totally plugged into one thing, single pointedly focus on one thing, there is no room for other stuff. All the other stress, worry, I have to do this, what about this? It all fades into the background a little bit. Just like if you're really plugged into something you're working on at work, you lose track of time, you don't hear the noises of the office. This is a good kind of analogy to what we're going to be practicing here. Cool? Okay. Could be repeating a positive words. Yeah. So that's actually it's a really good, I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes we think, oh, meditation is focusing on my breath. No, meditation is focusing on something single pointedly. We can use our breath. We can use repeating positive words to ourselves. That's sometimes called like affirmations, right? You can meditate on brushing your teeth. You can meditate on walking. You can meditate doing anything. The only thing that is required for something to be meditation is you choose to focus on it single pointedly. You notice when your attention drifts, bring it back, right? Riley, I feel like our minds are familiar with the future. So we often missed, yes, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of look at, well, where is our mind usually, right? But yes, I would have to agree. So we're going to do a breathing meditation now, and it's going to be short, 5 minutes. Do not worry. You're not going to be sitting here for, hours on end. You do not need to meditate for like 2 hours in a cave somewhere to see any benefits. No, short. It doesn't matter. All that we're after is consistency. How do you learn stuff? Repeat it. It can be short periods of time, right? 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, but we're repeating it. Consistency. That's what we're after. Okay, cool. So step number 1, get comfortable. As comfortable as you can be. And you'll notice I'm in a chair. If you were to Google meditation, you'll see people sitting on a floor or on a cushion, and their legs are usually like intertwined in some way that doesn't look that comfortable. You don't need to sit in any specific way in order to meditate. Whatever works for you is great. You tired? Go lay down. Fine. You want to sit in a comfy chair? Lazy boy with your feet up? Doesn't matter to me. Just make sure you're comfortable. Oh, where's that in out? It's happening. So make sure you're nice and comfy. You can go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation just to get everybody a little relaxed and familiar with how we meditate. Okay? All right. Whenever we start a meditation, it's always good to take a moment and check in. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? In this exact moment. We're not thinking about earlier. We're not thinking about later. Just now. How am I feeling right now? Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're feeling alert. Maybe you're upset. Or maybe you're happy. Whatever it is, it does not matter. We're not doing anything about it. We are just practicing noticing. This is an exercise in mindfulness, something we're going to talk a lot about today. So just take a moment, check in. Having done that, you can now make a choice. Choose to focus single-pointedly on your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Gently, naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths. You do not need to forcefully exhale air. Just breathe as you normally would, whatever comes natural to you. In and out. As you begin to relax a little bit into your chair or cushion or bed. At some point, you will notice your attention drifting. Maybe you're having a thought about something that happened earlier today. Maybe you're thinking about something that you have to do later, after this class is over. Whenever you notice that your mind has drifted a bit in this way, we can just say not right now to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. And then guide your attention back to your breath. Back to breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Single-pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. See if you can follow the entire journey the air takes as it moves from the atmosphere into your body as you breathe in, where it circulates, nourishing us. And then you exhale, releasing that air back into the atmosphere. Moment to moment interest in breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you notice it drifting. It does not matter how many times you need to do this. This process of choosing to focus single-pointedly on your breath, noticing when your attention drifts, and then being able to guide your attention back to your breath. That is breathing meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to access peaceful you, your natural peaceful state. You're training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. How wonderful. And right now, the only thing you're focusing on is breathing in and breathing out gently and naturally. So just for the next few moments, just enjoy sitting here breathing. Allow yourself to relax a little bit more into your chair or cushion. Just enjoy your breath. Okay. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd that go? Tom, I'm glad. Yeah, keep those legs nice and straight, or however the doctor has said to keep them. So that was a very kind of straightforward breathing meditation. It has 3 steps. We're choosing to focus on our breath. Anytime we notice our mind thinking about something else, we're like, not right now, mind. Come on back. And then we bring our mind back to our breath. That's it. 3 steps. And we're doing this over and over again. And again, it does not matter how many times we need to kind of reset and do this. That is the practice. We are training our mind to focus on what we want to focus on. Up until now, your mind has been focusing on what it wants to focus on, right? And we can, if we think about it, that is like very apparent in our day, right? Our mind's like, now I'm worried about work. And now we're like, sometimes we're like, no, I like to just watch this show. I don't want to worry about work, But our mind has a bit of a mind of its own. So we're retraining our mind, so to speak. Cool? Okay. Any questions on breathing meditation or meditation in general or anything we just did? Brenda, rest up. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Okay. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to move into our topic for today, which is pretty closely related to some of the things we were talking about. It's not going to be a huge departure from what we were just kind of discussing. But we're going to talk about being present, which is a phrase that everyone seems to keep saying, I should be more present. And sometimes we'll think about it, like, I should be more present, right? Read books, being present. It's like a phrase, it's all over the place, right? So what does that mean? What does it mean to be present? All right. Often I think the word that comes up a lot is awareness, right? It's a good one. Pretty good word for it. If you're kind of present, you're like aware, right, of what's kind of going on, right? But there's a difference between like an active awareness and a reactive awareness. A reactive awareness is, oh no, I'm anxious, right? Oh, I've been anxious. But an active awareness is you monitoring your mind a little bit each, moment by moment. That way you can be like, I'm noticing some hints of anxiety. Let me do something about it, right? So recognition is like our superpower into being present. And this recognition, whatever, being present, aware, active awareness, whatever you want to call it, is what mindfulness is. And that is the king or queen of buzzwords. But mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts moment to moment for a very specific purpose. And that purpose is to notice what's going on in your mind early on in the process. Because the earlier you catch things that are going on, the easier it is to deal with them, to manage them. If you think about like a fire, fire starts as one little flame. And then if you're there and you have a gallon of water, you're like, and you dump it on the flame, and that's the end of that. You've managed the fire, right? Now, if you did not notice that the fire was there, you were not aware of it, didn't recognize that the fire was there, what happens? Fire spreads. Can it still be managed? Of course. Right? We see it all the time. Brave firefighters and whatnot combat forest fires, but it is harder to manage the more the fire spreads, right? So mindfulness, this active awareness, is all based in trying to be present enough in this moment right now, that you can pinpoint some things that are going on in your mind and be able to skillfully deal with them, manage them using some of the tools that you learn here and elsewhere. Cool? All right. Mary, in the moment, what you're doing and thinking at the time. Very good. And I like how you separated those two, because that's a very important aspect of being present. We'll talk a little bit about that, right? Why are we not naturally present, right? If this was not a thing, that we needed to kind of work on, there wouldn't be 6 trillion books written about it and everybody talking about it. So where are we if we're not present, right? And this is a really good segue into kind of what Mary was talking about. In the moment, what are you doing and thinking, right? Or what is your body doing and what is your mind doing? Sometimes those things are doing different things, right? Which is essentially multitasking. Right? So we could be walking down the street. You ever walk down the street? I think you have, right? Sometimes we're walking down the street and what are we doing? We're thinking about something else. We're thinking about a presentation that we have to give at work, right? We're walking down the street. There's all sorts of stuff going on. All right. There's a lot of fun and beautiful things happening around, but we are thinking about work. Our body is walking, but our mind is not walking. Our mind is thinking about the presentation, right? So there's a disconnect. And what we want to start to think about doing is bringing those together a little bit, right? And we'll talk about some of the benefits of doing that. But that I think that's something I think we've all experienced, right? Taking a walk and our mind is just elsewhere, right? Just elsewhere. Where is it? Where is our mind if it's not walking? What is it? Where, if it's not present, where is it? Right? Julie, very often in the future are busy making judgments about self or others. Julie, A+, bravo. You did it. Our mind is in one of 3 spots, right? The present, the past, or the future. That's it. There's no other spots. I got news for you. There's no other spots to be, right? The past is very granular, right? What I just said right now is past, right? So the past is always kind of happening, but our mind can only be in one of those 3 spots. Where do you think your mind is normally? Do you think it is more often in the present or more often in the past or future? What do you think the percentage is? I think it's pretty high that it's in the past or future. It's not something that we think about a lot, but if you think about it, to actually investigate, I think you'll notice that your mind is in one of those spots almost always, the future or the past. Eileen, future for you. Me too. Big one for anxiety. That's how I got into meditation a long, long time ago. Anxiety is future based, right? Julie, big fan of the what if. There it is. The what if game, right? Anxiety often feels very present in the moment, right? I'm anxious now. But the thing, the pain, the mental pain that comes from anxiety, where is it? Oh no, what if I say something embarrassing? Oh no, when will this feeling go away? I've mentioned this many times before on this channel. I have kind of a phobia or anxiety about itching. Whenever I have an itch, I'm like, oh no, immediately. Talk about familiarity. My mind is so familiar with having labeled itching as bad that I have an itch and immediately I'm like, oh no, when is this going to go away? Right? So mind is constantly fluctuating between these three places. And unfortunately for us, it is predominantly fluctuating between past and future. And then it dips into the present. It dips its toes into the water. It's like, oh, it's cold. And then it moves on to one of those other things, right? Richie, sometimes we are in a mind state of what others are thinking about us instead of focusing on this moment. Yes. Yeah. So that is a great example that can be both past or future, right? Oh man, I screwed up. I was giving this presentation at work and I screwed up. Has that ever happened? Happened to me. And we think about it forever, right? I can still think about times years ago, right? I can still recall it like it's here in front of me, right? And what am I worried about? Just like you were saying, what are others thinking of me? They think that I'm not good at my job. They think I'm dumb or whatever, right? That's your mind being kind of trapped in the past a little bit, right? So, whether you struggle with kind of your mind being trapped in the past, which you can kind of attribute to feelings of longing or regret, stuff like that, or future, which is kind of more anxiety, worry based, wherever you struggle with, and maybe it's both, right? The important thing to note is your mind's there a lot, right? It's in the future or past a lot. And so let's go back to our word, familiarity. Your mind, left to its own devices, is in the future or the past so much that is where it naturally is starting to go, right? Not because it can't be in the present, right? Not because you're incapable of doing that. It is simply because that is what your mind is used to doing, right? And so we have to train it, right? We have to train it. So, contrary to kind of what we will sometimes say, our mind cannot be in two places at once, right? When we're multitasking, we're like, I'm doing a bunch of things at the same time, but you're not really. Your mind cannot think about two things at the same time, right? It jumps, right? I mentioned before, maybe you're taking a drink while you're listening to what I'm saying. Your mind is like, I'm listening to Keith. I'm thirsty. There, it jumped. Oh, I'll pick up my glass. And then your mind's like, my glass is to the left of me. And then I'll pick it up and then I'll bring it to my mouth, right? Your mind is doing all of this constantly. It's so fast that you don't even really notice it unless you think about it. But it's jumping all day long from thing to thing, right? And every time it's jumping, it's moving out of the present a little bit, right? We'll take that example. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm thirsty, right? Okay, thirsty. And then I am like, okay, well, what do? I'm going to have to pick up my glass, right? So now my mind's in the future. I'm going to pick up my glass, and I'm picking it up, and then I'm like, I'm going to bring it to my lips. And then sometimes if I'm like, maybe you're like, I really want to pay attention. So, I don't want to look at the glass. Like, we're planning all of this stuff and it's happening so fast that we can't really notice it, but it's happening. And our mind is just getting really, really well versed at jumping around. Okay. Still COVID anxious. Yes. Well, that's very understandable. And we're going to talk about okay. This is actually a good time for me to talk about this. Having our mind in the past or future is not bad. All right. Sometimes people are like, I should be in the present. If I'm not, that's bad. No. Thinking about the future is very important, right? If I was going to go on a trip and I did not think about the trip ahead of time, I may show up and not be prepared, right? So thinking about the future is important. Thinking about the past, also important. We can learn from our mistakes, evaluate situations for how we reacted, and maybe is that how we wanted to react or something like that, right? So having your mind be in the past or the future is not bad. What is important is that you are choosing where your mind is. Right now, it doesn't seem like we have a choice. Our mind is jumping at its own will, worrying about something coming up tomorrow, worrying about something that happened, earlier, regretting something. If you notice, there's that kind of mindfulness, we catch the fire. We're like, oh, I'm thinking about a project that I have to do at work tomorrow. Do I want to be thinking about this? That's the important question, right? Noticing, evaluating, do I want my mind to be in the future? Is that beneficial to me right now? Do I want to do that? If the answer is yes, then go. That's perfect. That's intention. You are essentially dictating where your thoughts are, which is what we're after, right? So don't come away from this being I can never think about the future or plan anything. No, plan, but on your own terms, when you want to, not when your mind wants to. Okay. Sometimes we get trapped in positive thoughts as well. Oh, yes. The other person is praising us. How can we handle that if it's habit connecting people to thoughts? Oh, brilliant. Yes. So a lot of times we focus on negative thoughts because they are quite painful to us. But we can also get trapped in positive, right? Maybe, somebody, complimented us on something we did, and, we keep thinking about it. We're kind of letting it go to our head a little bit, right? We can kind of get trapped in some positive too, right? So this technique of mindfulness and meditation, it's about being very honest with yourself about what am I feeling right now? Is this beneficial to me? What's going on in my mind? This is something that we do not analyze often. We just live. We just work, and then we come home, and then we're stressed, and then we're like, I don't know why I'm stressed. It must be the job. I hate my job. I hate all the people there. And we never analyze anything else that's going on, right? So meditation and this is all about starting to think about why am I annoyed? What's actually going on here? Great comment. Thank you. Self-criticism distracts our thoughts. Yeah. So self-criticism is our mind moving away, right? This is me speaking. I have a very bad self-image about being procrastinating, being lazy. I think of myself as a lazy person, and so sometimes I'll do that. I'll think about, I'm so lazy, and then where's my mind? You're thinking about all the times that I've procrastinated. It's in the past. It's gone. Right there, it is. Good. Julie, I noticed that my mind has created systems of familiarity, so I can keep the mind chatter going without having to think about stuff like where did I park the car? So great comment. What you're seeing here is the power of familiarity, right? We park our car. This is actually a good example, right? We park our car. We're going to the grocery store, right? We do all sorts of stuff in the grocery store. We're thinking about, I got to buy this and I buy that. Oh, that's the expiration date's passed, And then we check out. We got to calculate the money. The amount of computations happening in our mind from going into the grocery store is unbelievable. And then we come out and our mind's like, oh yeah, I know where the car is. Our mind is so familiar with these things now that it's just moving like that, which is awesome because that's the power of your mind, right? But your mind doesn't play favorites, right? If we are super familiar with being anxious, that's going to pop up. Our mind is going to go there really quickly, right? So the kind of true goal here with meditation is we are realizing the power of our mind and the power familiarity has over our day-to-day life. And then we're starting to make choices about what we want to be familiar with. Cool. Rob, what's going on here? Too much? Yeah. And that is pretty much, I think, like ubiquitous across the board. Even if you like, sometimes when people start meditating, they say, my mind is busier when I meditate. Right? But really, you're just kind of noticing how busy your mind is because you're sitting quietly thinking about that, right? Our mind has got too much all the time. And it's not our mind's fault. It's just doing what it thinks it's supposed to do, right? Good. Meditation with past thoughts helped me, like sitting with past thoughts in which you were annoyed. Meditation with past thoughts for 10 minutes helped you manage them. Yes, absolutely. This is another great example of choosing to think about the past, right? Past, present, future, all very beneficial. But you choose where you want your mind to be. That's the goal. Cool? Okay. Awesome. Very good comments. So, we've talked a little bit actually here about some of the benefits of thinking in the past or thinking in the future, if that's, what you want to be doing. But what about the present? What are some of the benefits of that? All right. Well, one of the benefits of this whole process is we're starting to regain ownership of our thoughts, right? We're actively choosing where we want to be, right? Which is phenomenal. That's one of the core things we're doing with meditation. And so you sitting down doing a 5-minute breathing meditation is you practicing this. You are practicing training your mind to focus where you want to focus. And over time, that's going to get a lot easier, right? But what are some other things that are cool about being in the present moment, beneficial, right? Let's take the example of you walking down the street again. You're walking down the street, and you're thinking about work and stuff, and you're moving down the street like kind of like a robot, and then you're thinking about work. Now, if you could like freeze time, or looking around, there's a lot of cool stuff going on, right? There's the leaves blowing in the breeze. Maybe there's two people hugging, right? They're reuniting after a long time being apart, right? There's the delicious aroma of a food truck, nearby, or like birds flying through the sky. There's all of these things that are going on now. They're there for us if we want to look at them, right? So one of the benefits of starting to practice this kind of idea of bringing your mind back into the present is that we start to notice some subtle joys about the thing we're doing, right? Walking can be very enjoyable. There's all this awesome stuff going on, right? It could also be not enjoyable if we're letting our mind not be there. Maybe, we're thinking about something, a really painful memory while we're doing it, right? So this is kind of getting at the core of present living, or whatever you want to call it, right? It's a choice, right? The present moment has a lot of subtle joys for us. They're there. If we want to think about them, to be there, do we want to be there, right? That's a question we have to ask ourselves. And if we do want to be there, then what we're going to start doing is practicing noticing when we're not there, being like, okay, my mind is thinking about work. I will get to that later. Right now, I'm walking. I am walking, and I am just smelling the beautiful, the wonderful aromas of the food truck. Can you tell I'm hungry? Right? Cool. Carol, gratitude for what you have right now. Yeah, amazing. Right? Absolutely. That is like, something that maybe we're eating breakfast, right? We eat breakfast all the time. Usually we think about something else. We're not thinking about breakfast. But if we are like super plugged into, thinking about this breakfast that we're eating, maybe we start to think about, man, a lot of people were involved in putting this piece of fruit in my hand. Somebody grew this and drove it across the country, and I got it from that store. There's so many people involved in that store. Like, we're developing gratitude for this piece of fruit, for this activity, eating. Awesome. Whoa. Hit my mic. Cool. Julie, you can be less reactive in difficult situations and take a minute to think and respond instead of just reacting. Yes. So again, our mind, boom, I know what to do. I'll get angry, right? So we have to train it to put a little space in between there. Like, oh, okay, I noticed this thing going on. Where do I want to be? Do I want to be there? Do I want to be there? Do I want to be here? Awesome. Really good analogy. Cool. Okay. So I want to do a little meditation now to kind of close this out. But before we do that, if you're kind of new to the whole like mindfulness, training your mind and, being aware and whatnot, I got a very practical tip for you. All right. Set an alarm on your phone or put a post-it note on your computer or whatever, something that you will see. And when this alarm or you see the note or whatever, when this event happens, that is your cue to just stop very briefly and just say, how am I feeling right now? Exactly like we did in the meditation. What's my mind up to? We're not doing anything about it. We're not solving any problems. We're just practicing noticing. This is something that is kind of foreign to us. We don't really do this a lot. And so it takes a lot of effort. We have to force effort to check in on ourselves. But through familiarity, just like with tying a shoe, riding a bike, whatever, the more that we do this, the more that we become familiar with checking in with ourselves, what's going to happen? We're going to do it just effortlessly throughout the day. And that's where we're going to start to catch some of these little flames and be able to put them out. Okay? So that's a good little tip, right? It doesn't even involve you doing any meditation or anything. You're just kind of practicing noticing. All right, cool. So we're going to do another little meditation together, and it's going to be pretty similar to what we just did, but what we're going to do is start to kind of, now that we have had some of these other things, like we're talking about mindfulness, we're talking about recognizing. Well, guess what? When you're meditating, what are you doing? I'm going to focus on my breath, present. I'm breathing now, right? Present. So we're practicing being in the present. And then what happens? We pay attention to when our mind drifts into the past or future, and we're like, oh, I've noticed that. Not right now. Bring it back. We are practicing all of these things with breathing meditation. And the more your mind becomes familiar with this, you'll be able to take this out into the wild and naturally kind of be in the present moment. That's our goal, to make this effortless. Okay? Cool. Awesome conversation today. Thank you, everyone, for everyone who contributed. Sorry if I missed anything. Okay, so let's get comfy again. Tom, you relax. Legs straight. All right? Hope you're feeling okay. And go ahead and close your eyes. I'll guide us through another short meditation together. Okay. Once again, let's just take a moment and check in. How are you feeling now? In this moment? It's not a comparison to before. Before is gone. Only now. That's what we're focusing on. How am I feeling now? Just an observer. No need to try to react. Just observing what your mind is up to. We now know how important this small, short activity is. We are training our mind in mindfulness, the ability to recognize what is going on with our thoughts early on in the process so we can deal with it skillfully. So just take a moment, check in. Having done that, let's once again turn our attention to our breath. Making a choice, we're going to stay in the present moment, following each moment of each breath. In and out, gently, naturally. Following each moment of breathing, the air entering your body, sitting and exiting, over and over again. Not worried about the previous breath. All we're focusing on is breathing in this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. Sometimes your mind will move away from this moment, thinking about something that happened earlier today, or something that you have to do later, or tomorrow. Whenever you notice your mind drifting into the past or future, we can just say not right now to those thoughts. We're not scolding our mind. We're not judging ourselves. Our mind is just used to doing that. And so we caught it, and now we're going to guide our attention back to the present moment, breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Each breath moving in and out, just like each moment, moving in to the present and then out. As you really start to hone in on your breath, single-pointedly focused on now, something interesting happens. You start to become aware of some subtleties. You start to notice some things about breathing that you hadn't really thought of before. They were always there, but maybe it never really occurred to you. Maybe you're noticing how the air, it feels cool temperature-wise when you breathe in. And that same air feels a bit warmer when you breathe out. How interesting. What a fascinating subtlety of your breath. Or maybe you're noticing your body moving as you breathe. Your shoulders rising, then falling. Your chest expanding, then contracting. Your body swaying ever so gently as you sit here breathing. Every aspect of you totally present, breathing. One of the benefits of choosing to stay in the present moment is that you get to notice some subtleties like this, some subtle joys, stuff that has always been there, waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to enjoy. Right now, you are learning to find some subtle joys in breathing. How wonderful to be able to truly find joy in something so accessible, something that occurs constantly, every day, every moment. If you can learn to enjoy your breath, think about what else you can learn to enjoy, what else you can discover, what subtle joys you can discover every moment of your day. This is the promise of living in the present moment. You're like a child at play, fascinated, noticing everything, enjoying every moment as you breathe in and out, gently, naturally. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello, welcome back. Okay, so that was literally the same thing that we did, right? But now we're starting to notice some things about that very simple breathing meditation that we didn't really touch on the first time around, right? What are we doing? We're like, oh, we're actually practicing mindfulness here. Noticing when our attention drifts, being able to bring it back. We're practicing choice. We're practicing making a choice. What do I want to focus on, right? And then we touched on kind of the subtleties that pop up in our breath when we're really focused on it, right? And there's countless things. And this is not just for your breath. It's for anything. You know, folding laundry, the way the fabric feels. Like, there's all these things that are very interesting. They're there if you want to pay attention to them. So that is it for today. I hope you found this to be cool, thought-provoking, relaxing, all those wonderful things. If you did have a good time, I'm glad. Come on back. I do this every Wednesday. Same time and all that. And I pretty much do it every week unless I have something to do. But I will be here next week, so come on back. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, and you would like to, that would be awesome. I would greatly appreciate that. And then you get some lovely benefits as well. You get notified when I'm going live. So when inevitably, your busy life takes over and you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's Wednesday. I got to go meditate with Keith. Right? All my old videos are also up on my YouTube channel. You can check out stuff. Maybe you're interested in learning about anxiety or something like that. Check it out. And then I also teach one-on-one classes. So maybe you're like, hey, this is cool. I'm into this. I would love to maybe do some private study. I do that as well. It's very laid back. I'd usually do it over Zoom. It's very casual. And the benefit is we can focus on something that is very particular to you. At the beginning of the class, I said, this session is like a recipe book. You might be like, oh, I found the recipe I want to learn, right? And we can focus on that together, okay? So if any of that's interesting to you or you have any questions about anything that we did today, you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat right now. It is keith@meditationbreaks.com. I think I spelled it correctly. Yay. Okay. If you're interested in a one-on-one or you just want to chat or had a question, just email me and we'll go from there. Cool. All right. Thank you guys. Thanks for all the kind words. Great class. Really do appreciate you guys. Like, amazing questions, amazing comments. Thank you. That's the beauty of live stream. So thanks for making that possible. And thanks for taking time out of your day being here. Thanks for everyone who subscribed, notifications on, love it. Thank you everyone. And I hope I'll see you all next week. All right. Take care.